Hello, I am the real-life fake wizard. The access media has a lot of problems. One of the many is a pattern of sexualized content that has no business being attached to the properties they're covering. In April 2026, Kotaku published an article declaring that Bowser from the Super Mario Galaxy movie is bisexual. The Super Mario Galaxy movie is rated PG. It is an animated children's film for children. While you're watching this video right now, there are likely hundreds, if not thousands, of small children in theaters watching this film with their parents around the world. And yet, a major news publication with a focus on entertainment has decided it's okay to discuss and make claims about a cartoon turtle's sexual orientation to generate some website clicks. A day earlier, the same outlet published an article connecting Fox McCloud, another character from the same PG-rated children's film, to the furry fetish community. The author predicts Star Fox's appearance in the movie will, quote, inevitably introduce Fox and the rest of his crew to a new generation of furry artists, and casually acknowledges the likelihood of stumbling upon not safe for work content when searching for Star Fox and these characters. From a bird's eye view here, a working journalist at a major outlet decided an appropriate angle to discuss children's movie characters is through a lens of sexual subculture. There is now a reality that a kid searching for Star Fox on Google might come across this article labeled, "Look, I'm not a furry, but when I see Fox McCloud, I get it," which is presented in its phrasing as an endorsement of furry culture. And this isn't just a problem with kids' content either. In February 2026, that same outlet published an article about Resident Evil Requiem, in which the author describes deliberately keeping Leon Kennedy at low health to listen to his pain sounds, quote, for reasons, calls his reload animations sexy, says Leon's violent kills makes the writer swoon, and writes, again, in a published article on a professional platform, quote, my pants are already gone. Now, sure, these three articles are just Kotaku, and there will be more we'll cover in a moment, hang in there, but broadly speaking here, these are professional journalists. These are credentialed members of the access media. They attend press events. They receive early review copies. They sit in press conferences with developers and publishers and creators. They hold positions of trust and influence in multi-billion-dollar industries. Plural there. Industries, not just one. And they are publishing sexually explicit content on platforms that children access freely every single day. My friends, this is a big problem. Today's indie game shoutout is Nemillion, The Last Expedition, a Spacelander adventure with Metroidvania progression system. Use retro-inspired thruster-only flight, upgrade abilities, battle through bosses, and conquer brutal terrain. To learn more about this and hundreds of other indie games, visit our free indie game discovery network, fakeportal.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Now back to the video. Those first few articles we mentioned earlier are not outliers here. Perverted themes in the entertainment press is a common thing that is published every week. Products of an industry-wide editorial rot that has turned sexually explicit content into a core pillar of gaming, movie, and television coverage across every major outlet. This is not one rogue publication. Here is a list of headlines from your access media. Kotaku, Dragon Age: The Veilguard's sex scenes rated worst to best. November 2024. Nothing is safe from the live service grind, not even sex toys. February 2025. Leon Scott Kennedy, I'm on prep. February 26. Bowser, I know what you are. Bisexual. April 26. Look, I'm not a furry, but when I see Fox McCloud, I get it. April 26. Polygon, Hades 2 gets sex scenes right. April 25. The best adult video games according to an expert. February 2025. 3 Xbox Game Pass games with the best romances. February 2026. With an emphasis on, quote, super horny companions. Hollywood Reporter. Hollywood's 20 most erotic movies ranked December 23. PC Gamer, the best sex games on PC that aren't garbage, March 26. 2023's second best RPG about people who are too horny for their own good was Thirsty Suitors, December 23. Rock Paper Shotgun, Baldur's Gate 3 is a relentlessly horny video game, August 23. Lifehacker, the 50 horniest movies ever made, January 25. Again, this is your access media, folks, and I would go on here because there are a lot more articles we could cover, but I'm genuinely concerned that at this point in the video, YouTube will have already punished me for saying all these explicit words when I'm just physically reading headlines here. It's not an endorsement, YouTube. It's the media. To enter into the archives of the access media, you will find articles about sexual awakenings caused by Final Fantasy. You'll find reviews of erotic visual novels with BDSM mechanics. Or how about explainers on what exotic anime cartoons actually are? This editorial identity stretches back over a decade across the entire access media landscape, progressively getting more and more perverse over time. The recent output is the latest and most brazen iteration of an industry that long ago decided that sexual provocation was its brand, while still expecting publishers, advertisers, and audiences to treat it as serious journalism. The gaming and entertainment press operates on access. Publishers and studios grant early access review copies, press conference seats, red carpet credentials, and exclusive interviews to outlets that they trust to cover their products professionally. That access comes with an implicit understanding, however, you are here to inform the audience about our work. Kotaku has access, Polygon has access, PC Gamer has access, Variety has access, Hollywood Reporter, IGN, Rolling Stone, Mary Sue, all of them, every major outlet have some form of access to major corporations and the products they are producing. Now, as I have addressed in past and previous videos, there are 5 types of specific people ruining entertainment: corporate executives, marketers, writers, content creators, and today, journalists. In this case, the key job of a journalist in 2026 is to run offense and defense for their corporate partners. An example recently is with Millie Alcock's Supergirl. Reports are that this Supergirl movie is failing in its test screenings, and it's looking like it will underperform at the box office. Upon the publishing of the newest Supergirl trailer, the access media simultaneously published articles with Millie Alcock discussing sexism in the superhero movie genre. This is the access media preemptively engaging with a marketing campaign that villainizes customers for not seeing the movie when it inevitably fails. No, it's not the movie's fault. It's not Millie's fault. It's not Warner Brothers' fault. It's you. It's your fault when a movie tanks at the box office. And in this case, it's because you're, what is it today? What? Oh, sexist. Yeah, you're a sexist today. Now, if we put aside all of that baggage, if we were to dismiss entirely the history of these journalists and how they're really not to be trusted, at face value, the job of a journalist was to inform the public. They were meant to be the ones to hold politicians, corporations, and people of power accountable for their actions. And if these people with power and influence got out of line, journalists were supposed to notify the public, who are then better prepared to make decisions about their physical and economic lives. Publishing articles that are sexualizing characters from PG-rated children's movies is an abuse of that position. See, when a credentialed outlet publishes an article declaring Bowser is bisexual, that article gets indexed by Google. It gets shared on social media. It enters the same digital ecosystem that a 7-year-old is navigating when they Google the words Mario Galaxy movie on their mom's iPad after seeing it in theaters. The journalists can claim they wrote the article for adults, but the algorithm doesn't care, and truthfully, neither does the writer. They have now created a circumstance where there is a strong possibility that a child will come face to face with their commentary because it's about a child's property. A child does not have the cognitive framework to critically evaluate an adult projecting sexual orientation onto Bowser or Star Fox, and so kids will absorb these sentiments. They might be looking for Star Fox games and inadvertently discover what furry fetishism is. That association is now in their head, attached to a character they just saw in a movie with their parents. Children are not miniature adults. Their brains are still forming the structures that allow them to contextualize and question and filter information. When you put sexual content on top of children's media, firstly, it's disgusting, but you are reaching children at the exact moment that they are most vulnerable to absorbing your words uncritically. The question that every publisher and advertiser should be asking is, after offenses such as this, why do these outlets still have credentials? But no, they're not going to ask those questions because in a lot of ways, most of the corporations are in on the grift. And it's not just in video games or reality television, it's the entire entertainment system. Mark Malkin is Variety's senior culture and events editor. He holds one of the most powerful positions in entertainment access journalism. He stands on red carpets at the Oscars, the Golden Globes, and major film premieres with a microphone and a camera crew. Studios grant him that position because Variety is a legacy institution. At the premiere of One Battle After Another in September of 2025, Malkin asked Chase Infinity, a 25-year-old actress on her first ever press tour, "What's it like calling Leonardo DiCaprio daddy?" Now, Infinity had already been on the record saying she was anxious about this event. She played DiCaprio's daughter in the film. This clip went viral, and then Variety deleted it. But thankfully, the internet is forever. Deleting this clip is an admission that you went too far. Variety's editorial team watched the backlash and decided the content was indefensible. The young actress already had her largest professional night tainted by a grown man asking her sexually loaded questions on camera in front of the world. And Malkin has a history of asking inappropriate questions on red carpets, and to be extremely clear, he's not the only one. They all do this. All the journalists do this. He just happens to be the one that keeps going viral for it. At the Agatha All Along premiere, he asked multiple cast members whether the show was the gayest Marvel project yet. There's a pattern here. These journalists are not interviewing about the work itself, or its impact, or its meaning. They use their credentials to invent provocative tabloids for social media engagement, ambushing performers who are often young and new to the grift with questions designed to make them as uncomfortable as possible on camera so they can harvest the controversy for clicks. And it would be one thing if that was it, if there was nothing else to say. It would be enough for us to be like, hey, journalists are perverts and keep labeling entertainment without sexualization with fetish labels. Like, that's enough. We could ship the video right there. But the full scale of this discussion goes further than that. We've identified that these journalists provoke sexualization in order to attract attention. It's all to attract attention, always. Even by making this video, I am contributing to the thing they want, which is more people talking about them. And specifically, the ways in which they present their fetishist content is done so specifically to garner outrage. This Kotaku journalist writing about Star Fox is doing so specifically to upset as many people as possible, to make as many people around the world as unsettled as possible. Mission accomplished. But with that comes a hypocrisy that these people engage in, and they knowingly engage in it, again, specifically to garner the most outrage. On one hand, journalists will celebrate sexual content in one context, even when there is no sexual content to celebrate. They'll fabricate it. But then, they also condemn sexual content on the other hand, depending entirely on who the original content is targeted for or about. In 2024, the gaming press mobilized against Stellar Blade, a PlayStation 5 action game, because its female protagonist is very attractive. IGN France called the character, quote, a doll sexualized by someone who has never seen a woman, and then they issued a formal apology when it turned out the character was modeled on a real woman's body scan. The Mary Sue accused gamers of promoting hypersexualization for finding the character appealing. Multiple outlets questioned the developer's integrity, suggesting the character design was some kind of cynical ploy. Gamers who expressed appreciation for this game and its story and characters were called creepy. They were called regressive. They were told they were part of a societal problem for engaging in this game. 18 months later, the same journalistic ecosystem published an article where a writer describes being sexually aroused by a male character's pain noises and declares, "My pants are already gone." The standard here really has nothing to do with the sexualization at all. This is all about a standard of control and who gets to sexualize what and who gets shamed for it. When gamers appreciate an attractive female character in a mature-rated game designed for adults, the access media calls them degenerates. When these same outlets publish articles assigning fetishes to children's cartoon characters, the access media calls it content. Now, to reiterate something I brought up earlier, every article Kotaku publishes about the Super Mario Galaxy movie enters the same search results that children use. Every social media share of these articles enters the same feeds that kids are going to scroll through. The algorithms don't care, they're robots. And these robots have a singular job, and that's to put things that other people find interesting or worth discussing in front of more and more people. In this case, all people, including children, engaging with a PG-rated Mario movie are the targets for this fetishist content. The American Academy of Pediatrics has published research showing that exposure to sexual content in media is linked to shifts in adolescent attitudes about sex and gender and contributes to earlier progression in sexual activity. The National Institutes of Health have published reviews finding that social media use among children and adolescents is directly related to sexually problematic behaviors. These behaviors include early sexual activity, sexting, exposure to p-ography, can't use the full word, we're here on YouTube, and exposure to unwanted sexual material online. They also found that the risk of exposure to this kind of content increases the more time a child spends online. We're talking about a situation where it's not if children will be exposed, it's more like when, and it's only a matter of time. See, we're not in speculation territory for this, we're following the science. Remember, follow the science? These are peer-reviewed, published, and replicated findings. When a major gaming outlet publishes articles sexualizing characters from a children's movie, and those articles circulate on the platforms children use, the outlet is contributing to a documented public health concern. Research on adolescent media consumption consistently shows that younger audiences process content bluntly, is the word I'm going to use here. Kids do not pick up on the framing of said content, meaning that a teenager reading that Fox McCloud is, quote, furry bait, absorbs the sexual association of that statement. The writer's self-aware disclaimer of, "I'm not a furry, but," is an attempt to protect the writer from criticism, but it does nothing for a 12-year-old who just learned what furry culture is because they Googled a Nintendo character. Research published by the NIH found that when children are exposed to sexual content, their brains treat it like a learning experience. They see it, they internalize it, and it becomes part of their understanding of how the world works. So when they encounter something similar later on, be it a relationship, a social situation, or a conversation, their brain pulls from what it absorbed previously and treats it as a baseline for normal. A child who reads an article sexualizing a cartoon character from a movie they just watched with mom and dad is not going to forget it. That framing becomes part of how they think about that character, that media, and eventually those topics in general. Most children who encounter explicit material online do so by accident. They were never looking for it. It found them. And as I said previously, journalists want this kind of outrage because it leads to more clicks, which leads to more supposed access, because they report they have more clicks and views. But all of this is artificial. No one is going to Kotaku or the Mary Sue because of their hard-hitting journalism. Everyone is going to see what kind of moronic takes they're going to post today. Oh, and my usage of everyone is doing a lot of heavy lifting. People are done with these publications. Audiences have abandoned the access media in droves, turning instead to independent creators, YouTubers, streamers, and podcasts now, all of which command larger audiences than legacy outlets do because independent media does the one thing that access media refuses to do. Talk about games, talk about movies, talk about what they think about movies and games and shows with each other. For instance, I was on 3 or 4 different panel shows talking about the Mario movie. We discussed the merits of the film, whether people liked it or not, how much money it's gonna make, what we want to see in future installments, and what this Mario movie means in the broader discussion of Hollywood and content being made for kids. You would think at this point, logically speaking, that if the access media industry is dying, which it is, and the readership is in freefall, which it also is, then at some point someone involved has to look in a mirror and ask, what are we doing wrong? The access media looked in the mirror here and said, we're not being perverse enough. My friends, that is the play here. These outlets are watching their relevance evaporate in real time, and their response has been to lean harder into the exact content that drove audiences away in the first place. Because that content generates clicks, and clicks are the only metric keeping the lights on. But at that point, these outlets are being extremely disingenuous with their clients and advertisers, okay? Because those clicks are hollow. Users see the ridiculous headlines on Twitter, and then they're clicking through to confirm if this degeneracy is real or not. If they are reporting those numbers to advertisers as if they represent a healthy, engaged audience, well, that is at best misleading, and at worst, you might find yourself in a courtroom. You are selling an advertiser access to an audience that does not exist in the way you're describing it. These outlets are telling brands they partner with, we can put your product in front of 2 million engaged readers per month, when what you actually have is 2 million people who showed up to see what stupid-ass thing you said today. Intent behind website visits matters. A reader who trusts your outlet is a warm lead for your advertisers. A reader who thinks you're a clown is a wasted impression. And thankfully, advertisers, like the audiences, are starting to figure this out too. The brands that used to run campaigns across gaming and entertainment outlets are asking harder questions about audience quality and not just audience size. Because the reality is, 1 million hate clicks from people who will never return is worth less than 10,000 visits from readers who actually trust the publication and come back every single day. The access media is selling fool's gold to its advertisers, and the moment the advertisers catch on, and they are starting to catch on, the final revenue stream keeping these outlets alive will finally dry up, and I am waiting for that day, my friends. I'm going to resolve this video by speaking directly to the parents here. If you're a parent, or you know a parent, or you've got grandkids, or anything, okay? The kids in your life, they need you to be an active part of their lives. Myself and others, we can call out these outlets for being perverted, but that's not going to stop them from being perverted. They are getting bolder in the face of their desperation to remain relevant. We got a double dose of creepy articles here on this Mario Galaxy movie, and that is because they know it's a massive talking point right now, and that will bring them lots of attention. Strategies like this that they use are not going away. It is up to you to take a proactive approach and be more involved with what your kids are spending their time on. The reality of this is, you can have a journalist, a professional journalist, attributing Fox McCloud to the furry fetish on a major news publication. And it's okay, because they can do that. So if you want to protect your children from rhetoric like that, it will take your direct involvement, which is a conversation we should be having anyway. Be involved with your kids. Children should not have unsupervised, unlimited access to the internet. You, parents and mentors, you are the first and last line of defense for the type of content your kids get exposed to. And now you know a little bit more about what's going on the internet. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus.